Welcome to Real Talk with Ray, where we deep dive into the business owners making a real impact and get to learn about them and their stories unscripted. Today on the show, we have the one and only Dave Lisowski. I have known Dave for a few years now, and I have seen the immense impact he has on other video creators, content strategists, and other businesses. So over the last 8 years, Dave has been building this savage business, helping other business owners just to the moon and back. He's a passionate human being who has a huge heart and can tell he loves what he does just through his content. And I have had a lot of great opportunities to learn from this man. And I'm excited to talk with him today, get to know more about his story, and see what else is behind the onion that is David and all those layers. Yes, let's get into this, baby.
Damn, man, that is, I love it. I've never been called an onion, and it came across so much more flattering than I thought it would.
You know, onions have layers, ogres have layers. So this is where everyone gets to know how weird of a personality I have. And it's great. I'm all about it because, yeah, that's where I get to practice my MC skills.
Dude, I think you are killing it right now, and I am flattered to be compared to an onion and Shrek. We're off to a fantastic start. You're really setting the bar high for what I need to be able to bring to the table today. So I hope I can deliver, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, just to get into it, I kind of want the audience to kind of understand a little bit about like where your start was like, how did Dave become the business owner he is today? Like, maybe just get a little quick overview.
Yeah, dude. Oh man. I mean, like you said, it's been 8 years. So, to give, I guess, the crash course context on all of this, like we were talking a little bit before this about, I didn't always want to do video. I didn't always think that was going to be the way I was going to go. I wanted to work with musicians and I wanted to be in music business. And so I was in college and I thought I was going to be an engineer. And then I quickly became that statistic of people that start off going for engineering major and then like switch or like drop out. Yeah, I switched big time. I shifted around, kind of took more of like a communications and business focus. But the real takeaway is I started working with bands and musician friends of mine, just doing anything I could to get involved because I knew I didn't want to end up doing like corporate communications for some pharmaceutical company that never excited me. So I thought, let's just apply all this to that. Fast forward, I ended up getting a camera 1 year as like a combined birthday Christmas present. And same time that I was taking a year off from school to go tour with one of the bands. So of course I got thrown in the deep end and they said, well, you're our camera guy now. Like you're coming along. You're the only one with a camera. So you're our media guy. And I'm like, okay, I guess so. So nothing really will get you learning how to use a camera and editing software faster than knowing that you are expected to put out like recap videos and photos. So started doing that. All the bands back home were like, you're going to do that for us when you get back, right? Did enough of that I decided, let's do this legit. Let's start a business. So 2016, registered a business, Foxel LLC. And 2 years in, started working with businesses instead because, businesses can afford budgets for videos and projects like that. And haven't looked back since. A year that I decided to go full time because I'll never have that little responsibility again in my life. And here we are just about a little over 6 years later.
Wow. It's kind of funny listening to your story. We have some similarities beyond our great music taste, which we'll talk about maybe later. One thing, I didn't realize you graduated in 2018. I also graduated college in 2018. But besides that, you made a decision during when a lot of people, I think, are afraid to make this decision early on in their college career is to switch and just to be like, no, I'm not going to do that. I graduated with my degree and it took me a little bit to make that decision to go all in on what I wanted to do. When I started my business in 2018, I had like a back and forth battle between me and the career I was supposed to do.
What were you supposed to do, quote unquote?
Physician assistant.
Mm,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So I have a biomedical science degree and a
Just gonna
minor
casually drop that.
in
Like, I'm like,
just
yeah, I went like communications. You're like, yeah, yeah, the same. I got like biomedical degrees. So like, what? That's nuts. I actually never realized that all these years.
yeah, I don't talk about it too much because I mean, but I love science. Like I love one of the biggest advantages I had over a lot of science kids and my science kids, science majors, whatever, is I visualized I love seeing like cells and things like that in my head because you can like you can't actually physically see that. And some people hated that. They're like, I want to work with the human body because I can see that. And I was like, but it's kind of cool to just imagine like what a cell is doing and anything. I digress, but like that, I always had that imagination. Like I can visualize, and I didn't know that a lot of people can't actually do that. Like they struggle doing that. So I found that fascinating. But I wanted to get back to you with your engineering, right? You were going engineering, and then something was like, hold up, let me pause here and like shift. What was that inside you? Or was there an event? Was there like, what was that aha?
Yeah, the catalyst, right?
Mhm.
The spark in the powder keg, so to speak, straw that broke the camel's back, however you want to frame it. Man, it was I was sitting there looking at my trajectory of courses that I'd have to take. And they give you this prescribed course of study to do based on all the necessary courses you need to take, as well as like the credit satisfactory things that you need to do, your general humanities and all that type of stuff. And I'm looking at that, trying to min max it and figure out, what courses can I take that'll satisfy this, and like just hit my credit threshold. And I'm thinking of all this stuff and I'm looking at it and realizing I don't want to have to take advanced thermodynamics my junior year. I don't want to have to keep taking chemistry courses. And I don't want to do that right now. What makes me think I'm going to want to do that for the rest of my life? It was that moment that made me take a step back further and realize I was only doing engineering because all throughout high school and leading up to that big choice of like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? I hadn't been offered really any other options. It was just like, go do a career that interests you that also will probably make you a lot of money. And I think that, by that point, I was already interested in and working with some of my band and musician friends because I took a music recording class. A professor there opened my eyes to everything else that was possible. He worked in the industry, he had years of recording and touring experience. And it made me realize like there's more options out there than what I previously thought. I owe it to myself to consider them or explore that. And so I knew right off the bat, I'm going to do engineering for the rest of my life. I at least should figure out something else. There are two pathways. One was integrated arts, this kind of new major where you sort of build your own major. I knew I wasn't going to do that. The other option was corporate communications, which was business, marketing, communication all in one. And I played it just a little safe because I thought, well, at the very least, I'll have some business credits. And if all else fails, I have that going for me. So that was sort of the moment where I just was looking at the future laid out for me. And I realized I don't actually want this. And it was that first moment where I really felt like I had a say in my own future.
Mm. Yeah, this step back, almost like an outer body experience, right? Where you're just like, I see the matrix and I can't go back.
Whichever pill it was that Neo took that made him realize everything that was in front of him. Yeah, that's the one. That was the moment.
And it seems like you've had to make that decision a couple times, right? You got the camera and then you went into doing what you thought you loved. And then next thing you know, you're like, wait, another moment, right? And going towards businesses.
Yeah. I think when you get into college, if you don't know exactly what you want to do, like some people know exactly what they want to do. I think the majority of people, you're figuring it out. And so I think that period of time, preferably sooner rather than later, is where you just try stuff that you think you might be into and then find out. And it's the same with business. Even after I graduated, once I was in business, I mean, talk about picking the types of projects you want to do, the types of people you want to contact, the types of clients you want to work with, niching. It's all just this trial and error and taking your best educated guess. And then the more you try, the more feedback you get and the more experience you get to figure out which parts I like and which parts didn't. I've described it before as playing Battleship. Because you play Battleship, you don't know where things are on the other side. Just taking guess, your best educated guess. And sometimes you're going to miss, right? Sometimes you're going to get a hit. And that's just an indicator that, like, oh, I might be onto something here. I'm in the ballpark. So you're going to take, your next project you do or your next thing you try might be just 1 degree different than that. And you might miss again, but that's just an indicator. Okay, let me try the other way. And eventually, you sink the battleship. And that means just finding the thing that resonates with you that you like the most. But the difference is, I've been doing this 8 years, and I don't think you ever actually fully win the game of battleship because I have 1,000 different things that I want to do in life and 1,000 different things that interest me and 1,000 good ideas all the time. It's a matter of just figuring out what are the things, how do I keep getting closer and closer to what I genuinely love to do that works, that people want to hire me for, that pays me well? And how do I avoid doing the things that I don't like?
Yeah, that honestly, if you're listening, that was some valuable advice for anyone who's like niching. And you have niched, like I have seen you niche over the years, and now what you're currently doing and helping those is in the construction and home service based industry, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
And so talk to me like, what was that like like getting to that, making that decision? Because it's not easy to just be like, it can be challenging personally to be like no to all this and yes to this. And even for like, not just as a myself, I've struggled with that. I'm currently looking at niching down in certain aspects for my own business, but like for other business owners in general, like I come across that all the time. One of my clients, who they might be a multi-million-dollar business, and they're still afraid to like go all in on a certain type of client, and they still think I'm here for everyone. Yet when you're here for everyone, we're talking to no one. And it's like this cat and mouse game of like, I want it, but like, So, and you've dove into this specialty. So what was maybe on the table, the chopping block table? Like what was like here's A, here's B, C, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. One key rule of niching is that niching is not just an industry. It's sometimes a focus area of types of projects you want to do. Sometimes it's the way that you actually operate. Sometimes it's the type of person that you want to work with. And it took me a while to realize that because when you get into it, they say like riches are in the niches, right? Go work with dentists or go work with lawyers or doctors. And it took me a while to realize there's a lot more to it because even if you say, I want to go work with dentists, you know how many different variables there are in just that industry? There's dentists who have multiple practices. There's ones who are just starting out. There's ones who are, their characteristics are maybe more like braggadocious and a little more ego driven. There's ones who are a little more selfless and altruistic. There's so many variables that dictate what is right for me and what's not. And it's not always just the industry. So for me, I spent a lot of time focusing in on health and wellness and fitness because it was just interesting to me. I thought it showed well. There's a lot of natural, like underdog stories there. And it's easy to get that emotional buy-in from people, right? But what I realized was after a couple of years of doing those types of projects, along with other stuff, it's not like I just said no to everything else. I kind of realized like at least what I've focused in on or the projects I've done, a lot of good ones, a lot of great people, but there's not a lot of like runway, meaning they are not, they want to get like a project done and they view it as this thing that's like, okay, we now have video and Now we're going to be like, we're going to look professional. We're going to get more people. And so at the time, I didn't know necessarily how to advocate for using it further. I would tell them the best practices and ways to get it out there. And so what I realized then was that the 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 gyms and specialty trainers that I'd been targeting didn't necessarily have the back end infrastructure to fully utilize video in the way that I was talking about it and preaching it and creating it. So what I do is basically once a year, I'll take stock of all the projects that I did the past year or, up to that point, and I'll take note of who did we work with, which projects were the best, which ones were the worst, and why. And I'll just get very granular with it, figure out who the clients were, who the points of contact were, how big were the businesses, all those different variables I talked about earlier. And I'll figure out who was the best, what were the variables that made them the best, and then how does that dictate the focus moving forward. Full transparency, for the past 2 years or so, I've been saying like home services, contractors, things like that. I've shifted the micro focus a little bit. And what I'm realizing now is that I don't necessarily know if it's just home services and contractors. I'm looking deeper beneath that and I'm realizing the element of that that I love is the building, the constructing for change, the civic aspect of making an impact that way. And even in the focus that I've had, I've learned that it's not just owners of contracting companies and blue collar businesses that take themselves seriously and want to scale.
Mhm.
Like that's a pretty granular focus, but even that, there's still variables.
Mm.
You're a new business, you haven't been posting on social. You might not be the ideal client to do a social if your expectations are up here. If you are, a business that's been around for years and now you're doing video and you're ready to spend a bunch of money on video, but you're only doing it because, the new marketing hire that you brought on board of the family business says that it's the thing you should be doing, but you're not bought in, might not be the right setup, might not be in the right headspace to do it and fully buy into it. So all that to say, you keep realizing things as you move forward, but I don't think you should ever take everything off the table. It's just about what you lead with.
Mm. Yeah, I love the process that you're doing, the redefine and refine, like the person. It's really like that person that might be in this industry or might overlap into different types of industries that are adjacent. And you mentioned like civic impact. Like, what do you mean exactly civic impact? What is that to a layman?
Yeah. So I kind of look at that as the people and the businesses and the organizations that are working on projects that kind of, I've been using the phrase like redefine the skyline. So it's not literal in the sense of like we're building a skyscraper, but like doing the projects that have a greater impact than just like one household. So I live right outside of Philly, like 30 steps from city limits. Philly has a lot going on. I love my city. I love Philly. 2026 is going to be a huge year for Philly. It's the 250th year anniversary of the country, where it all started. There's so much change, so many projects happening, and so many anniversaries other than just the 250th. I've always been fascinated with this. Let's look at our past to decide what we do today to impact the future. There's a broader impact that can be made in communicating that the right way to get public buy-in, to get ideas properly communicated. Because when you're making decisions that are affecting a way broader scale of people, you need to make sure that those things are put out there the right way. And so now I'm looking at all these projects that are happening and saying, okay, this is just 1 degree out from what I've already been doing, working with these companies that are part of the fulfillment of these things. How do I set my sights on the involvement with that higher level of civic impact? So that's kind of what the shift has been now. So it's not, but even still, I'm not working with, home service companies anymore. It's how do we take what we've learned all along the way with these micro pivots to then keep micro pivoting into what, like I said, you keep moving toward what you want to do and avoid the things that you don't want to.
Yeah. And looking at your life story right now, it's a constant, never ending moving target, right? Of like where you want, oh, I want here. Oh, wait, actually, I want here. And then what the beautiful thing about human beings is we're constantly growing, and the growing causes change, and the change causes a moving target. And as entrepreneurs, if we always have a target to go for, have a passion and purpose for it,
It's the
keeps
journey,
us
man. It's the
motivated. Yes,
journey.
it's literally the journey. And I love that it's like you've recognized you're in this big picture of civic impact that can have waves of your whole community of Philly, and you've been helping these people in like spots along this picture, and now you're like, how can I really just make one domino that impacts these people and more? And I have been talking to a business coach who is helping me figure out like, who do I want to help? And one of the questions, he was like, look at the people that you've helped in the past, right? Who are you most passionate about helping and why? And there's like three of the questions, but the one I remember that ties to with you is like, who do you believe, or what industry or person do you believe when you're helping, you have the greatest impact? They have the greatest impact on like the world. And it's funny how you went away from the health and wellness. I'm actually going back towards that in my head, just because that's how I see, based off of who I am, and healing people who are broken or want to just like live a fulfilled, healthy body, like have a body. If you have a mind, body, and soul that is on point, healthy, you can move mountains and affect one person, one person, one person. So the butterfly effect is in effect.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And I love that again, like you said, it's like a redefining or a pivoting of, okay, where is that impact being made? That is such an important factor too, because I mean, there's always going to be, right, the projects that are like, well, this pays well. Like at the end of the day, I'm a business. Yeah,
I
I know. And I
have
think,
lights. I have lights to put on and bills to pay.
yeah.
I
And
live in the matrix still sometimes.
right, right. So it's knowing that I can't completely, a lot of the times, like I think it's dangerous to completely marry your passion with your business, because so many people when they get into it think like that. You hear the saying, do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, there's like caveats to that. If you end up loving what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, I believe. But if you decide, like back in the day, I was like, I love music, I want to do anything I can to be around it. Then I realized, like, actually, now that I'm relying on my income, like my money that I'm making to survive is relying on me getting like gigs in this world of stuff that I loved. Honestly, I reached a point of burnout, and I stopped going to concerts for like a year. So I'm like, I don't want to be around this anymore because I associated this negative feeling with it. So there's a degree of like, okay, my interests and hobbies and passions outside of work, I want to keep separate. So then you kind of neglect that and you look at where that impact is actually impact. It's not passion, because it's okay, where can I make this change that's going to matter objectively without me putting just like my genuine feelings into it. Like I have a genuine interest and love for like the city of Philadelphia and these big projects that are going on and all this type of stuff. But I'm not like, at the end of the day, if I'm just like bored and I want to do something, I'm like putting on a live concert or playing a video game or going to a show or something like that. I'm not like reading up on city planning, you know? So there's a difference there. And I think that's the important thing. And that's what I love about what you said. You're going back to health and wellness. Like you have, from what I can tell, a genuine interest in that world. I mean, you got a degree in it, as well as the impact that people can make. You want a better world to live in. And you know that by helping those people help people, that's more likely to happen. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Helping those people help other people. And it's taken me a while to realize that. And the one thing you said that stuck out with me is being able to step back objectively. I think as a creative, a person, I think in any business, right? People tie their identity to it and they become it. And I was actually just at a event last night where the speaker helps operations and teams and healthier, happier life for them. And one of the things that she said is, wow, I just blanked out on what she said. I had it like 2 seconds ago. One of the things she said was, the thing that's coming to mind is that people need to love what they do about 20% to be at the top. They don't need to love it like 100%. It's like 20%. And I'm like, oh, I remember what I said. She's talking to these top entrepreneurs, these guys anywhere between 1 million and 200 million. Like they have between 10, and it was all about employees. And like there's one guy who had like one employee and another guy who had 200 employees. And her question was to them, if you didn't have your business, who are you? And like, have you thought about that? And I was like, wow, you know, I haven't really thought too much, especially I started my business journey technically in 2018, but I don't contribute me going full time or starting the business stuff until 2021 when I went like, oh, I'm doing this, right? And so, but like for a long time, like the camera, it was like me, like I am the camera and like trying to help and try to figure this stuff out. I don't know why I stopped myself from saying shit. I'm gonna say shit because that's me. Uh, yeah, figuring this shit out, and but like I haven't until now, like recently within the last few weeks. I'm just like, how do I, like you said, tie your passion to it, but not your whole identity, whole self, which I love that. And it comes back to, can reread this book, but the E-Myth. I don't know if you've read the book.
Yeah.
It
I've
is
heard great things about it though.
yeah, honestly, it is a phenomenal book. And when I first read it, I was like, how the hell do you create a creative business like this? And it's all about creating systems, but like basically building your business as if you're going to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about it, your business is a box, the McDonald's thing, right? It's a box ready to be sold. Like you'll think about it differently. You're passionate about it, but how can you separate the box from you?
Yeah.
And it like, I think it's like one of the first pages or something like that. It talks about the biggest mistake people who are technical and good in their field when they want to go into the business, they don't know, they're not running the business. They're doing the business. They're employing themselves. They're not
Yep.
running a business. So it's almost a detriment to some people that they know what to do. They know all the technical. If I knew less, in a sense, not necessarily, but if I didn't know how to do the editing, how to do the video stuff, I would have to find the right people. If I want the outcome for this person, your ideal audience, your niche, this impact you want, if I have this idea, I want it, but I don't know how to technically do it, I have to find the right experts to do it. And that's like Ford. He surrounded himself with people who knew better. He didn't need to know everything. And like, man, so many different topics, but like all that was a rant that I don't remember tying back to what you
Well,
got.
dude, I think there's a lot of golden nuggets in that rant because, like, think about this. You get into business for any number of reasons, but at the end of the day, it's probably because you want more money or more freedom for yourself. You want more upward mobility, whether that means I'm going to be the one that dictates how much money I can make, or I'm going to be the one that dictates what I can do with my schedule. And people so quickly lose sight of that because you end up in this hustle again where it's like, and I've been guilty of it too, where it's like, well, I could do that. Like I could handle every part of this project. Oh, maybe I'll like, make a little bit more if I just do X, Y, and Z rather than hand it off to other people. But then that gets you in this downward spiral of like, well, then I can afford to charge less, which means I'll get more people, but then you're doing everything. And it's this dangerous mindset to be in. On the flip side, like you said, if you build your business to sell it, you don't need to know everything. That means that you just need to know who to find. And you just know, I need to hand this off to this person who's going to do a better job. Like, dude, when I got into my business and I was working with businesses, I hated editing. Honestly, still pretty much hate editing. It's, I can do it. I know I can turn around some really great stuff, but I know that the technical skill of editing is my weakest point. And
Yep.
so a lot of people that I was talking to in the early days were like, I have so much trouble giving that up. It's like deciding what the final edit's going to be. That was the easiest thing in the world for me because guess what? I knew whoever I handed it off to was probably going to do a better job than I could if I just knew how to communicate what I needed to them. And that's the real takeaway is like, look, if you can be the one who has that degree of understanding about the bigger picture, then you can rally people around something because so many times when I want to make something happen, I know that it takes more than just me. And so I know that I need to go to other people and get that buy in from them. And I think that is a real strength to have in this industry that we're in. Because if you can get people to buy into something that you want or you need, then you can do that for other people too. You can do that for businesses. You can create the videos that are going to help their ideal clients buy into their ideas and values and missions and way of doing things. And so really at the end of the day, just knowing sales. That's at the end of the day, it's everything. If you want to run a business and be in business for yourself, sales is the key. And so many people hate hearing that, but that's just the bottom line truth of it all. Call it persuasion, call it getting people hype. It's sales.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's so much stigma around the word sales in so many different businesses and stuff like that. I like to think of it as you have a vision, they have a vision, right? And it's how can we formulate a way to get that vision into reality, right? And sales, I mean, like I've done a lot of deep work on myself and it's just about like helping relationships, like helping them get what they want at the end of the day. And I know for me personally, battling with like the emotional side of like, because I don't want to go into like past traumas of my life, but when people say no, I think the hardest thing is like not taking it personally, right? When and that's like a default, I've had where it's like you gotta battle that. But yeah, and then I want to know a little bit about what's the future, kind of like shifting a little bit. What is right now the move for Dave Lisowski with Foxhole? And also, what challenges you see ahead of yourself for growing this business that you're in and helping others get that civic impact?
Yeah. The future for me is just doing more work and putting more work out there because it's so easy when you're doing that business approach, that business mindset to be like, well, we're going to only shoot when we're being hired to shoot. And I'm going to only edit when I need to. And if it's like for paid work. And then you look at it and you're like, well, I'm not staying as consistently in front of people that way. So for me at this point right now, I'm looking back, taking stock of projects I've done to post it out more because I'm notoriously bad at actually posting the work. I will shoot content and post myself talking in front of people, but I'm notoriously bad for actually posting the work because for me, it's that editing process too, right? Like I don't want to have to re-edit something that's already been edited. But for me, it's just kind of swallowing that pill and just actually doing that and partnering with the right people who I've made connections with and networked over for years in my area to just create more. I think that's something that we can so easily lose sight of, is we need to actually make stuff and put it out there for people to see it. Because if we stop doing that, then we don't have a business. We just have us preaching about what we do without actually doing it. And getting on video ourselves and posting content out there is not enough to actually practice what we preach. We need to make things and post it out there. Because for me, I've, again, looking at what's next, what's the future moving forward. Again, look at the past to decide what you do today to change the future. I look back and I realize I've spent so much time getting on video and then talking about video for businesses who should be doing video. And then I'm like, it's this closed circuit economy, right? Where it's like, for me to market what I do, the video needs to be good enough because my marketing speaks to my product and the product loops back and shows on me and all of that. Whereas if I'm doing video for, like, say I had an HVAC business, say I went out tomorrow and started an HVAC business or a roofing business, and I took my skills in video to start marketing the roofing services, the video could look like shit. But if it's putting out there the roofing services, that's the final result. The marketing is separated from the final result. But when we do video, our marketing reflects the final result. So we can't just, if we preach to people, just pull out your phone and start recording, get that out there. If all of our marketing is just phone videos and like half-ass looking stuff, that's a reflection of our product. And so it's this kind of little asterisk on our own industry where we need to be able to put out quality content. And the easiest way to do that and show what we're capable of is actually just do more work. So for me, it's getting out there, reapproaching what it is to create, to actually get out there, to network with people, to have a reason to network with people, to be able to create things quickly, not elaborate projects that actually kind of flex those muscles again and show people out there in the world online who maybe I've been connected with or are newly connected with. This is what it looks like when you work with us. That's what I'm doing now.
Damn. Yeah, that's great. Just
Thanks. I'm glad you think so, man. That's a check for me right there. Like, all right, Ray thinks it's good. That's a step in the right direction.
Oh man. No, I mean we could go more, but one thing before I have a few little just kind of like rapid fire questions that I love. I don't know, just for the audience, that Dave probably doesn't know, but he was a big reason that I know what I know. And I mean by that is, if it wasn't for the person he connected with me, then like I wouldn't know how to do all the marketing that I know today. I wouldn't know how to do all that stuff. I know. Yeah.
Wow.
We got you probably don't even remember, this was like 2 years ago. We were on another mastermind call and we're all just getting together with business owners, kind of seeing where we're at, what we're doing, kind of stuff. And I had just finished filming ads for a client. And I hadn't done ads in like a couple years or something like that since I first started. And I was like, man, this is like fun to like come in, script, and kind of like, think of these ideas. And I'm like, maybe I want to do more of that. And I was still kind of like figuring out, we're always figuring out, like you said, your micro adjustments. One of my micro adjustments. And you're like, you got to go talk to Siebes. He's doing amazing stuff in the ads world and everything. And I was like, shit, all right, I gotta go talk to Siebes. And like I hounded him down, like I hounded some other people down to like figure it out. Like, I need to know. And then he pointed me to the content creator group that taught me like the foundation for like marketing. I was on the hunt for like, what the hell does marketing mean? Like, I create these videos. I was gifted this 9-point strategy marketing plan. And I'm like, okay, now like what is that? What does that do? Like, how does this work? People say I need to know marketing for the next steps. I'm like, all right. And then ads came, and then marketing finally was like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
And now it's been like, I've learned so much. Now it's like going back down into saying, okay, what am I just going to focus on? You know,
Yeah.
because for a
Well,
while I thought I was just going to do ads, run ad campaigns, and that was going to be it. And I'm like, maybe not.
dude,
Maybe not.
one, that is really cool that that was where that connection came in, because I mean, try and make as many connections for people as I can. And to hear that, like, yeah, this one was like a big impact, like that's awesome. So thank you for bringing that back up to put that in the light. That's awesome. And like you said, there's so much that you can just take in and learn when it comes to marketing. Because, dude, marketing is a wide cast umbrella, right? Even in just the lens of video, no pun intended there, I swear, it's still wide reaching. And so you look at, yeah, okay, you can run ads, but then it's like there's also organic strategies, and then there's long form, and then the short form, and then there's, content versus assets and all these different things. So kind of, I think it goes with the theme of this conversation of what do you focus on? How do you micro adjust? Because
Mhm.
you can learn everything. There's danger in learning too much, because then it's like, well, what should I be doing? It is a blessing to have a singular focus, because it allows you to go in one direction fast and far, and you build a reputation for that. Deciding what it is the hard part, but once you set off in that direction and you begin to get that little bit of a reputation for yourself, that's huge. And one thing that I'll say to you that has been a big, big lesson for me is that you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You can't look ahead at this, scatter plot of all these possibilities and determine what it actually is. It's only once you get some distance behind you that you can look back and make meaning of it. That's why I love doing those yearly reviews and say, who did we work with? What went well? What maybe wasn't so great? Because once you have that much distance, you can look back and say, you know what? It looked like a bunch of random data points there, but then you can see the trend, right? And being able to recognize that trend is it helps you decide what is that next move. So getting started with anything is really hard. But when you have that advantage of, like you said, you've been doing this for a good handful of years now, you can take stock of, like, based on what I've historically done, how can I use this information? How can I connect the dots looking backwards to figure out my next move marching forward?
Yeah, I wrote that down because you worded it excellently, and two, it's a great reminder for anyone really looking through, like thinking about the future. I always hear when you think too much in the future, you'll bring anxiety, right? And it's only when you're in the present that you can really relax. That's why they call it a gift. Thank you for Kung Fu Panda. Um,
Nice. We got
uh,
Shrek, we got Kung Fu Panda. We're running all through DreamWorks here today. I love it. Is
I'm
Kung Fu
surprised.
Panda DreamWorks? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Why not? Don't get us banned. I don't know. I'm surprised I haven't broken out in song. I have a musical background, and I have a tendency to just like randomly do that. But yeah, only connect the dots looking backwards.
For what it's
Um,
worth, I'm fairly confident that that's from The Gap in the Game, which
I
is an awesome book. I think it's from The Gap in the Game. Yeah, yeah, which is, to anyone listening, fantastic book. Highly recommend. I'm not big on, like, read all these different business books because it's just, again, danger and too much information, but that one definitely is a top 3 for me.
Yeah, information overload is a problem. I'm a student, and I love that, but that is double-edged sword, right? So we can go into that all day, but it's been over an hour.
Time flies when you're having fun, dude.
I know, but I have no AC on and I'm starting to sweat.
And
I love talking with you. If you'd have me, a part 2 would be amazing to get
the
to know
follow-up.
more about you, follow up on this. A few quick things. One, morning routine. Quickly, what is one non-negotiable for your morning routine when you're
Mm.
at your optimal?
One non-negotiable is I don't take calls before 11 a.m. Sometimes like 10:30, but usually my calendar does not start till 11 a.m. Honestly, I don't have this massive morning routine. A lot of the time, I just will wake up when I wake up and then I start doing shit. To me, that's important. I'm a night owl for sure. So the mornings are not like I wake up at 4:30. I take a cold shower and then I go for a 8-mile run. I just kind of I ease into it. I make coffee. I watch a YouTube video and then I kind of start my day. So it's
Nice. Do you go to bed at the same time or no? Okay.
no, and it goes against all the conventional wisdom of like, and maybe I'd be more successful if I did, but to me, it's like sometimes I pass out at like 11. Sometimes, like if it were up to me, and like, I live with my girlfriend now, so like our schedules, I try to sync them up a little bit. But for me, when I'm like by myself, I'm like, go to bed between 2 and 3 a.m., wake up at like 9, and I because I get pockets of inspiration throughout the day at random times. So for me, I might, if I know that like it's dark, it's late, I've already done everything I wanted in the day. Now I'm gonna kick into gear and like focus in and get shit done. That's just me though.
Okay. Love that. Love that. And then if you were to go on an island and you're only allowed to have one food for the rest of your life, ooh, what would it be?
Oh, do I have to consider like the nutrients and stuff, or can I just throw that to the wind?
No, it doesn't. And you're perfect in health no matter what you eat. You can eat ice cream and still have a six pack.
Dude, it's gonna sound so basic, but like pizza, like either plain or pepperoni pizza, like good pizza. And here's why. I've said this for years. Pizza is the Navy SEAL of foods. It can handle any situation. It can be anything you need it to be. You can put anything you want on it. There are so many variations of pizza. It's perfect. So for me, any day of the week, if health is off the table, if you're like, you want to get pizza, I'm like, yeah, all right. So that would be my rest of my life on an island food.
I love that pizza.
Now I want to know, does it like appear under a rock every day, or is there like a depository box that I go to get it, or is it just I wake up and it's next to me type of thing?
There's
These are
a
the questions that matter.
there's a seagull that carries your pizza in,
It's
flying
like
with it.
it's like the opposite of how it normally works. Normally it's like you're happy to have pizza and then they just swoop in and take it. So I like
Yeah,
this. This
it's
island
awesome.
sounds pretty magical.
Well, it is magical, and everyone go on an island. We're gonna own our own island with seagulls delivering pizza to
I
us.
like it. The
Yeah.
training is going to take a while, but we could get them there, I believe.
Well, with the right whistle, anything is possible. I don't know where that
Put
came
that
from.
on my grave, dude.
That
Forget
could
the
go.
connected dots looking backwards. With the right whistle, anything's possible.
Shit, that's a bumper sticker for a lot of different situations.
Yep.
We won't go into all the implications. And family, are you a? I feel like you're not a only child syndrome. I feel like you're youngest. No. Okay. What? How many brothers and siblings?
I got one brother. He's a younger brother. He's 2 years younger. And it's great. It's like growing up throughout high school, people will be like, I wish I was like that cool with my siblings. It just like, dude, my brother Joe, I would, without a thought, like jump in front of a train for him if I needed to. It's sick, dude. And he's done video and stuff even before I did. Like he was my like in-house consultant when I first was trying to learn how to do stuff. Like he pirated my first software for me when I was figuring shit out before I had money. So yeah, Joe, he's awesome. Now he's spent years doing visual effects professionally for studios in New York, but he's finally kind of pivoted out of that because Hollywood's a mess, and he has made the shift like the prodigal son back into video production and video strategy. So I can't tell you how many hours I've spent on the phone with him the past month and a half or two, just being like, yeah, dude, this is what you should do. Like, this is how you shoot a BBC. Like, dude, if you're doing batch content, do it this way. It's a wonderful feeling being able to be like, plug me in. He's the type of dude that will hit the ground running and do whatever needs to get done. His work ethic is admirable and unbelievable. So to just be like, here's what you should do, and then he does it is crazy. So yeah, I am a brother to one, and that's all I need.
That's great. Shout out to Joe, the real man.
Shout out to Joe.
Shout out to Joe. And one question I've been contemplating whether to ask you this, but because I love when it's a Tim Ferriss thing, where he's asked, if you had a billboard and you could only say one thing on it to impact people's lives, you only had one phrase, what would go on that billboard?
Am I doing this for business purposes or just I want to make an impact?
This is whatever you would want. Like, this is your legacy.
Oh man.
I know it's a tough question, but I kind of love it.
You know what came to mind immediately is for years now, whenever I've done anything like long form or live streams or videos of any type, I always by default end it with the same thing. And it's just drink lots of water and be nice to people. Because I truly believe that if you just do those two things, it sounds so simple, right? But if you just do those two things, your life will be better. Like it'll make a positive ripple effect around you. Drink lots of water. You're halfway there, dude. And you've been pretty nice this whole interview. So you're in good shape. I've never made it a deeper implication, but the deeper implication is like, look, if you drink water, you take care of yourself. That is the basic you can do for yourself to just keep yourself moving and keep yourself in a good state is just stay hydrated, right? Obviously, you could do more than that, but that's baseline. Put yourself first, you know? You got to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
And then be nice to people. It costs nothing to just be nice to other people and just give people the benefit of the doubt or hold the door for someone. Because the little nice things you do for someone else might mean nothing, but could also make their day or make their week. Like if you see someone wearing a cool shirt, let them know. If someone has cool hair, point it out for them. Being nice, just like raising thousands of dollars to donate to something, being nice is incredibly easy. So drink lots of water, be nice to people. It's the easiest, most simple, straightforward thing that you can do to just make a positive impact for yourself and for others. And when you do good for others, it feels good and that puts yourself in a good spot. So drink lots of water, be nice to people.
I absolutely love that. And I actually did just read one of your posts that you said that. And I was like, that's interesting.
If you were on the live stream like an hour and a half ago, I literally ended that live stream with that too. So
yeah. And I think before we just sign off, one thing, like I noticed that a lot of people don't realize the impact of one small grain of niceties, something that we do for someone else, whether it's one little compliment, you open the door, or you say something, you just say something nice. You don't understand that could be the only thing they heard nice all day, and you put a smile on their face, and that could have made their day. And you don't know the impact of making that person's day, how they make someone else feel, and someone else feel. So,
dude, I'm big on positivity. Like if you always hear people say like, you never know the lasting impression and the lasting impact of your words. And it always has this negative connotation of like, yeah, if you bully someone in grade school, that could impact their entire life. But in the same breath, if you could say something nice to someone, like, dude, I'm sure if you think of a compliment that is stuck with you, like one of my friends one time said just out of the blue, she's like, you have such a disarming smile. It's like, that is such a unique thing to say. And like, that's stuck with me. Or like the thing of like, if a dude gets a compliment, he holds that with him for that year, you know, like if we know that, then why don't we just do that? Why don't we give that to other people abundantly? And like every night before I fall asleep, I say to my girlfriend, I say, what was something good that happened today? Because you could have the shittiest day possible. But even in the shittiest days possible, there is something, a singular thing that you can find that redeems it in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes you got to look for it. You got to dig a little bit, but I don't know. I think it's good practice that, yeah, it's easy to see the bad and stuff. Why not make it easy to find the good and stuff? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a practice, like you said, and you're practicing what you preach. And that's what I personally love about how you operate and appreciate that.
Thanks,
and
man.
if we all be nice and drink more water, this world would be a greater place. So thank you so much, Dave, for being on the podcast. And I look forward to talking with you more and more.
Of course, man. Appreciate you having me on, dude.
No problem.